Hey, friends. I am just popping on quickly because kind of being moved to speak on, wow, darn Facebook memory. So for those of you that don't know me, hi, my name is Brooke-Sidney. I am an abundance accelerator, a mind soulful mentor, and an inner voice and soul story coach. And today I'm getting on, I feel like, to spill my guts. But no, I have Facebook memories to thank for this post, this share, and I feel like Spirit speaking in and through me to you, right? And so kind of where it all started was I got reminded today that 3 years ago on this day, I was headed to see Iyanla Van Zandt and to go to her book signing at Agape here in Los Angeles. For their new book, Trust. I actually have it with me here. The beautiful woman signed it, but there's so much backstory to that. At this period in my life, I had not too long moved. I'd only been back in LA for maybe about not even a year, like a year. My son was barely 2 years old, and my marriage was not working out is an understatement. I was just not in a good place. I was alone. I was lonely. I wasn't supported. And I was also like trying to start a new business then at that time, doing my best. And I was the primary caretaker of a very young child. Life, I had left a support group kind of in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I had moved back here to friends that I thought were going to be there for me, quite honestly, and really kind of weren't. So it was really, really funny. I started getting this urge to go to this particular event with Iyanla Van Zandt. And I didn't know why. I just knew that I was hearing, you need to go. Learning more about trust. This book is all about mastering the 4 essential trusts: trust in self, trust in God, others, and in life. And even at that time, I was kind of like, trust, like, I don't even know why I don't even know why this interests me so. I mean, I love Iyanla Van Zandt. I appreciate her spirit. I appreciate her fire, but I didn't know why I was being encouraged. Just felt like I had to go. So I literally asked about 4 friends if they wanted to go with me to this event. Now, remember, this is like 3 years ago. I didn't know I was about to go to get served divorce papers. I didn't know any of this was about to happen. I just knew that I was very unhappy. And for some reason, I kept feeling like I needed to go to this event. So I asked again. I asked about 4 friends, all of which either didn't want to go or didn't want to pay the money. And it's really funny. I opened up my book and I saw where I had paid $60 to go to this event. Now, $60 today doesn't seem as big a deal as it did back then. When I made the decision to not only go by myself because no one wanted to go with me and pay $60, I honestly really didn't have it. I feel like I put it on a credit card. At that time, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I literally had an allowance that my husband, decided when or when not he was going to give me a little bit of money, etc. And we had means. So that's another story for another day. The point of it is that it took a lot of faith for me to actually follow this urge to go and hear Iyanla Van Zandt by myself, all about trust. So I say that to say I went by myself. I had like my own mama night out kind of thing, and I made the best of it. I went by myself. Hey, for those of you that are watching. And it was a very good event, meaning I left feeling very spirit-filled. I heard messages that I needed. I knew that I needed more self-trust. Even though I have a big faith in God, in the divine, in spirit, I knew that I needed more. I needed more trust there, especially after that night. I didn't know when I bought the ticket why I needed to go, but when I was sitting in that seat, I started having aha after aha, revelation after revelation as to why my behind needed to be here under this word, under this message, right? And so I say that to say I left, and then a day or two later, I was served with divorce papers, and my marriage came tumbling down. The world that I knew, although it wasn't a good world, right? It wasn't a good marriage. The family, the hopes that I had, the dreams that I hoped that I had, they all came crumbling down. And only God knew what I needed. And it's actually bigger than the book. It's bigger than Iyanla Vanzant, and it's actually bigger than the message of trust, even though that is definitely a part of what I'm speaking to today. But it's more about having the courage and the ability to sit down and listen to your inner voice and spirit, especially when it's speaking, right? As well as to know when you need to kind of get your butt quiet and try to hear what you need to hear at that time. And I am so, so thankful that I had that kind of, I don't even know if it was desperation at that point, that I had the foresight to listen when Spirit started talking to me and told me that I needed that. Because the road ahead of me was horrible. I went through a horrible separation and divorce. I'm now on the other side of it. Obviously, it's 3 years later. I think I've been divorced now for 2 years. And, I'm definitely on the other side of it. But that doesn't take away from the journey that I went through, as well as the fact that I can now see how Spirit was preparing me, right? How Spirit was preparing me, and how me being able to listen to my inner voice, even in times of crap, how I was able to be guided and led and given some tools and kind of inner resources, which I talk about all the time, inner abundance, that helped me get through the journey that was ahead of me. That's the thing. Like, so many of us right now, we know that our lives are not in alignment. Like, let's just be for real. We know that our lives are not in alignment, but we're just walking every day forward, taking the same steps, and ultimately our lives are not changing. We're actually creating more of what we don't want, right? As long as we stay in the energy of what we don't want, as long as we continue to keep thinking the same thoughts and being in that same vibration, guess what? We're going to keep creating more of the same, which is 9 times out of 10 more of what we don't want. It's not until we make that shift and we start doing something new that our life begins to change, and it starts to line up and align with what we want, our desires, and who gave us those desires, the desires in our heart. So, sorry, I got a call. So the thing about it is that it's so important for us to make sure that we are indeed actually listening to Spirit, that we're tuning into our inner voice, that we're able to, even in times of darkness, or even in times when we don't even know what's coming ahead. Like, I had no idea divorce was coming ahead. That we are able to follow Spirit. And then if for some reason we don't know how to do that, if we don't know how to hear our inner voice, if we're not sure about what it means to be in alignment, if we're still really just existing, then it's time to get help. This story that I'm sharing today is not only about listening to Spirit when I didn't know what was ahead of me, because that was the truth. I didn't know what was ahead of me. I knew that our marriage was not good, but I was still hopeful. I was still expected. And actually, I even prayed to God for a sign, right? So I got my sign, right? Sure enough. And it's actually that's another whole conversation about how, the fight, all that good stuff about how Spirit worked in that way. The whole point is that we never know what's ahead of us. We never know what's on our journey. But we do know that right now in this moment, we know if we have the tools to prepare us for what's ahead. We know that. And for those of us that are honest, we know that we might need some help. And even as I went through this journey, y'all, I got help. That's why I can sit here in total honesty and be like, so many folks out there need help. They need help from someone who's been there. I've been there. I got help though. I didn't weather the storm alone. Everything from books, of course, like Iyanla Vanzant's, to therapists. You guys, I needed support through the marriage, through coaches, through mentors, through little personal development programs, through diving into my yoga and meditation teacher training. That's why I'm certified. So instead of becoming bad and bitter and broken, I was like, no, I am getting better. I'm going to figure out a way to have this work for me. And I really feel for those of us, especially women, who are stuck and are allowing ourselves to stay stuck. We're not listening to Spirit. We're not acting on downloads, because Spirit is speaking all the time. So if you are not hearing and you're not acting on it, I'm going to breathe. I just had to get on because I wanted to share. Thank you, Facebook Memories, for bringing up that memory. But it also reminded me of not only where I came from, but how far I've come. But also, again, the tools that I teach. The tools that I teach are the tools that I use, right? The tools that got me out of a bad marriage into a place where I actually love my life now, of freedom, ease, abundance, self-love, okay? Which are at the root of so many things. And being able to connect with Spirit, priceless. But too many of us are sitting around stuck and ultimately creating the same day over and over and over and over and over again, because nothing is changing. So I just wanted to get on, because when I saw that message earlier and I was talking to a couple of people about it, I mean, I literally got tearful, to thank Spirit for all that I have been given. But I know that I'm a co-creator. I know that I'm partly responsible for myself, taking my life and knowing I am my best investment. I am my own gift, and that every day matters. So each day I stayed stuck, each day I stayed sad, each day I stayed unmoved, I was only hurting myself and my little boy who looks and counts on me. So I know that I'm speaking to you. I know that there are women out there who are afraid to take a step for their healing, but only you can take that step. God, Spirit, the divine, every day gives us tools in the form of people, in the form of experiences, in the form of teachings and a word to help. But ultimately, we have beautiful free will that allows us to make choices to either stay where we are or step out on faith. And so I'm just getting on. And for the souls that are ready to step out on faith, who don't want their 3 years, right? The 3 years, they want them to look different. Right? There's no way I would want my now to look like it did 3 years ago. There's no way. I didn't know what freedom looked like. I knew that I wanted to be free, though. I didn't know what greater self-love looked like, but I knew that I wanted more of it. I didn't know what more inner peace would feel like, besides my momentary prayer times, just keeping it real. I now know what it feels like. But it wasn't because I sat back and waited for, God to give it to me, or just to for it to happen through osmosis. No, I took it. I stepped into it, and I took stock of all the words that I was receiving, my inner voice, as well as the people, places, things that were showing up in my environment to help me. And I stepped out on faith to receive them. And I still am. Truth is told, because I am my best and wisest investment. And I want women all over the world to understand that piece, right? So anyway, I'm getting off. I'm inviting those souls who are called to have a greater 2019 than 2018 to step into all that is available to them here and now, and to stop waiting and doesn't want 3 years from now to not be a successful transformation. Because the one thing that I can sit here and say to you right now is I have been transformed, and I'm always transforming. And I have Facebook Memories to thank for this unscheduled prompt, this unscheduled revelation that I know Spirit is speaking to and through me. And I hope that it's resonating with you. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will talk with you soon.